Hello aspirants and welcome again to Legacy IAS Academy. So if you remember, our Honorable Prime Minister had once during the COVID asked us to basically hit the utensils to create some sound at exactly 4 p.m. and a lot of us did it. At the same time, during demonetization, our Prime Minister multiple times have asked certain time limit from our side in order to make the situation right. Now, did that actually help or not is a thing of debate, right? So here again our Prime Minister has come forward and is asking us not to buy gold for a year. Yes, that is what he has asked. There are total 7 demands that he has placed in front of us, one of them being asking us not to buy the gold. Now we will understand as to what is the reason for this. Is it justified, not justified? What's the rationale behind it? And also, can the people of India actually pay heed to this and actually stop buying gold or not? This and much more is what we are going to see in this video. So let's get started with this interesting video. So this is what the news is all about. So our Prime Minister has appealed to the citizens to avoid non-essential gold. Yes, this has to be classified. A non-essential gold is what he's saying, right? Purchases for one particular year. Now the issue is non-essential. This is a subjective term. You may think this is essential for me. Someone else may think it is not essential for them. So there can be a lot of subjectivity anyway. Let's give the benefit of doubt over here. Further, the Prime Minister has also urged for what? Fuel conservation, greater use of public transportation, reduction in overseas travel, and revival of work from home. Now, if they provide me work from home, I'll be very much willing to do work from home, right? Who won't? Maybe some of us may won't, but yes, a lot of employees will be happy with this. At the same time, conserve the fuel. So, in your convoy, basically instead of 10-15 you should have lesser probably, but we don't go with convoys, right? We have our maybe a 4-wheeler or a 2-wheeler, so we have to cut down that as well over here. Then we should have a greater use of public transport, makes sense. However, for some of us that might not be possible. For example, the buses and all through which we travel can be very crowded. Imagine if all of a sudden from tomorrow onwards we all of us use that, it will create certain difficulties. The idea is, the question is the public transport infrastructure capable enough or not? See, in some places it must be, definitely, for sure, but in some of the cases it may not be as well. And to cut the or to reduce the overseas travel, so only our Prime Minister and our other ministers and all those politicians will travel. Probably we have to, however, stop it. So then that is required also at times. Why? Because the ministers and all, they actually go and travel in order to have engagement, talk, conversation, in order to leverage the things basically for our own country, for trade deals, so on and so forth. However, if they are taking their entire families, their spouses and children and everyone, probably that can also be looked to be curtailed. But let's see whether that announcement also comes from the Prime Minister or not. Now, our main thing is the gold, as to why gold is important for India or in India is what we will understand first. So gold is basically traditionally linked with what? Weddings, festivals, household savings, social security, right? So you may think, let's save. So how do you save? Save in gold. So we don't buy gold bars and coins, we buy jewelry. So that is a nice excuse to get jewelry for certain people, right? By saying that it will be a savings. But yes, it does help, it does act as a saving, it is highly liquid as well, so that's good. The gold also acts as a store of value, storing 1 crore rupees, right? So instead, store, let's say, almost half or 0.75 kg of gold, right? It also gives a hedge against inflation. Inflation may increase the prices, but the prices of gold is also going up, so not to worry. If you hold rupees, value may go down. If you hold gold, not a problem. So it is actually really good. In fact, when the stock market goes down, it's the gold that goes up. If there is conflict, war kind of things and disruptions, instability, what happens? Gold price goes up. So it's a very safe and secure. It's a safe haven asset and an emergency collateral. You can use this as a collateral in order to get the loan as well. If you look at rural India, gold functions as a parallel savings instrument. In urban India, increasingly viewed as an investment instrument. It is also a symbol of financial security during uncertainty, as I have already told you. Now let us look at the changing pattern of gold demand. Now according to the World Gold Council, the investment demand of gold has increased by 54% year on year. Right? It has reached 82 tons in March quarter. Whereas the jewelry demand has fell nearly by 20%. That is a significant shift, decline to 66 tons. So now we are looking for gold more for investment than for jewelry. If you look at the historic trend, for the first time investment demand exceeded the jewelry demand. But still, if you look at the total gold, more is in the form of jewelry, less in the form of investment. It's just that the demand of investment is now higher for the first time as compared to the demand for jewelry. The gold ETFs, those are exchange traded funds. Their inflows have also increased by 186%. Now the question is, why do we buy more golds? See, the article has already mentioned so many reasons. That is the reason for us to also buy gold. But in addition to that, it has traditional linkages, emotional value, so on and so forth. So domestic gold prices nearly doubled since 2025. It was around 75,000 rupees. Now it's 1.5 lakh rupees. At the same time, weak equity market, as I have said, stock market going down, invest in gold. Global uncertainties, when there is uncertainty, you would rather want to have gold. Gold is perceived as a safer than volatile financial market, and it gives protection against rupee weakness. Rupee is going weak, is weakening day by day, day by day, day by day. Right? Now, increasing trend. So if you look at the increasing trend, there is an increasing trend of what? Borrowing against the gold instead of selling. So you're not selling your gold, you want to hold it. You are borrowing against it, you are mortgaging it. So if you look at the retail gold-backed loans, they have also rose sharply to 4.3 trillion by February. Now let us look at the gold import and a macroeconomic challenge that it has in front of us. Now if you talk about overall import, the highest amount we spend for import is in the crude oil, second is in electronics machinery, third comes the gold that is there and the jewelry related to it. So gold among India's largest imports after crude oil and electronics. So the amount is actually considerable here. High gold import leads to what? Widening of trade deficit. If we are importing, we have to pay in foreign exchange, that is, let's say, in dollars. So our trade deficit also increases and foreign exchange requirement is also high. It pressurizes the rupee. It leads to depreciation of the rupee and drain on the foreign exchange reserves. Now, India imports nearly 90% of its crude oil. Why this crude oil is mentioned? Now, when we are already importing 90% of our crude oil, such a huge import bill, in addition to this, if we import too much of gold also, it is of course going to create a huge burden, definitely. So let's see what the measures government has taken and what are the challenges. So if you look at the previous measures, increase in import duties. The government had increased the import duties, making the gold costlier, as a result of which people will demand it less. But people still keep on demanding gold. Then restriction on bullion imports. Reduce the restriction or put restrictions on importing the pure gold that is there, the bullions, gold bullions that are there. Brought the sovereign gold bond, wherein if you want to invest in gold, don't invest in physical gold, invest in sovereign bond whose price will be linked to the price of the gold. It was a brilliant idea. The issue was the price of gold increased so much that people who invested in 2017, whose bonds got matured in 2025, they were to be given over around 300% of returns. From where will you give this return? Nothing is getting you higher return than gold in the last 8 years, right? So that is the problem. Gold monetization scheme which came, but it failed. It failed in the sense it was taken back because it failed because your jewelry was getting heated, melted and converted into coins and bricks and also who would want that? emotional attachment is there, 30% making charges is there, so on and so forth. Okay. So what has been the outcome of these schemes? Limited long-term success. Long-term success has not been there. Sovereign gold bonds taken back because huge amount of return the government was required to be paying to the people who had invested. The increased import duty led to more smuggling of the gold, right, to save the import duties. Then consumer behavior also has remained unchanged. So what could have been done? See, the leader of the opposition at the central government had actually said in the month of March only that West Asian crisis and all that is happening. US and Israel has attacked Iran. So it's high time that we discuss all those things very seriously because it's going to create an issue. But at that time, we were saying everything is all right, in control. Of course, you have to say also to basically avoid the panic. But at least behind the scenes, discussions and all could have been done, and would have been done to an extent, but we can see the results probably are not there. That is why the Prime Minister has to come and make an appeal. In an ideal situation, that should not be the requirement as such, and the government is there to govern and manage, so they should do the management diversification and everything that is needed. That's point number one. However, if the country needs us to, for a short period of time, not forever you can impose, that is going to be a bit difficult, but in the near term or in the near future, in the short term, if that is what is required, probably we can do it. But at the same time, the government needs to lead by example. How do you lead by example? Whenever any restriction comes, it should follow from top, it should follow top-down approach. That means people at the top should be made to do that, should be seen as doing that. Then it should percolate at the bottom. Any benefits that accrue should be bottom up, and any restriction should be top down. Many times it so happens it's the reverse. Any restriction, bottom up. Any benefit goes top down. So we need to change this culture, and the government and the people and the governance system, bureaucracy and everyone should lead by example. When you see the leaders actually doing things like that, not at the cost of diplomacy and stuff, that travel and everything should go ahead, but somewhere something should be visible, and it should be from top to bottom, wherein the people at the bottom rung also realize, and we together can of course get ourselves out of it. At the same time, as a long-term measure, we should be prepared of all the uncertainties that can become reality. Thank you.